Fast fee and whatnot.
Miss Fast Fee.
I think she's doing a great job, but yeah, it's. Yeah.
I think she's doing. I love her. Like,
yeah.
Never,
what she's doing for eSports.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, I'm gonna drown you guys out some more Nitro music. Nitro. All right. And so we're live on all three. We're live on YouTube at youtube.com/theScore eSports. We're live on twitch.tv/theScore eSports, and we're live on the Facebook app.
Are we live on YouPorn though?
No.
I know they haven't let us live stream yet. They want more nudity, and honestly, it's too early in the summer for that. We need to cut a little bit more, and then
it's disappointing.
Then maybe,
honestly, it's disappointing. Yeah, as Ryan said, welcome guys to the Score Esports podcast every week, Monday, 1 p.m.
I can tell it's Monday. Where's your energy, brother?
Whoa, my energy
is
all going like a spirit bomb right now to the Toronto Maple Leafs who are in the
get out of here.
The last thing we said before we went on the air is we don't want to talk about the Maple Leafs.
I just wanted to mention it.
He lasted 15 seconds.
Yeah, I said I didn't want to see this jersey that is now profiled up there.
Well,
man.
Okay. So transitioning away from Austin Matthews and the gang. This is the Score Esports podcast. I am Colin McNeil. We've got Kyle Chatterson.
What's up?
We've got Ryan Stratton.
Hey!
Like I said, every Monday, 1 p.m. We are your hosts with the most. We got a guest this week.
What? So casually with the most.
We have
the most what? Anyway, like what?
The most.
We're gonna need you to expand on this.
Mohawks. The
what?
most.
No.
We have one.
That's the most. We have a sick guest on the show today, guys. We do have Jason O'Toole. You may know him better as Moses, CSGO caster, host, analyst extraordinaire. He's coming up in just a few minutes. So
you missed the most important thing: future Ryan love affair.
Future Ryan love affair.
Yeah.
As you guys know, Ryan
has
a habit of falling in love with every guest we bring on here. So I'm just waiting for him to gush about Steve Maida, who we had on last weekend. Now, guys. Esports news.
There's so much esports news.
No, I want to go right back to...
You're just going to throw it out?
Just because from 2 weeks ago, we had Mr. Cake on.
Cake from formerly of the OCE League of Legends team Tainted Minds.
Yeah.
The embattled former League of Legends team Tainted Minds.
So Riot came out with their judgment on the case after some intensive introspective investigations. And it seems like Cake is not too happy with it. It looks like, to be fair, everybody that's not Riot and Tainted Minds isn't really happy with how the investigation went. But I just saw that Cake posted his on a Twitlonger, his reaction to it. So
that's a pretty long Twitlonger.
It is a pretty long Twitlonger.
TLDR for me.
No, I got to read it a little bit, but I mean, did you guys get a chance to go over? Hey, man, I just pulled this up.
We can prepare.
This is live.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the judgments? Have you gone over what they said? Like,
well,
they got off fairly light.
Other than like this, it was 6 months, right? 6 month ban. Like, is there anything else?
I don't think there's too much
else. That's the main point, right?
And dealing with the whole fact that there's some definite relationships between the Tainted Minds organization and then the guys who were looking into it on Riot's behalf. I mean, if you're Riot and you're looking at this as being like, okay, our OCE office is maybe acting a little sketchy, do you give a shit? Like at Riot HQ, do you think they care?
I would hope so. I mean, it kind of looks bad on them, right?
Because they haven't really done anything about it yet. Do they have the ability to do anything? Do they have to let these little satellite operations kind of run independently? Or is there a point when they got to step in?
These are all just wonderful questions. And for any of our audience who's sort of this is going over their heads a little bit, just check back a couple episodes where we actually had Cake. We had this guy on, a young man from Montreal, Canada, actually kind of down the road from us here in Toronto-ish.
I mean, it's a long road, but yeah.
It's a long road, but it's a road. It's called the 401. And he detailed all of these alleged problems with the League of Legends organization Tainted Minds, where they were allegedly mistreated by that team. They were kind of stranded in Australia because that's where they compete. Stuff like no doors on the bedrooms, no computers. I think you need a computer to play League of Legends. I have to check on that.
To play it well.
No air conditioning in 40-degree weather, that kind of stuff. So that was all alleged. He told us, guys, that his ideal resolution to this whole situation would be for Tainted Minds to be basically perma-banned, to be like not allowed to do anything with Riot or League of Legends. He didn't get that. But I mean, 6 months is something, I guess.
I guess.
In esports, 6 months is a long time. Right?
I just wish there was a win-win where everybody learns a lesson, everybody's happy, and everybody gets along. But instead, you've got people getting banned and stuff like that.
That was also
contracts not.
That was also the
out.
episode where Ryan said, "Why do we need contracts? Why can't we just shake?"
Hold on, but no, Winston.
Sitcom resolution.
No, Winston backed me up. He's like, he said the exact same stuff, that it should go in good faith, and should absolutely. That's the way it should go.
I don't disagree with you. Yes. I do wish that everything worked on like everybody's just doing the best for everybody. But yeah, I think there's too many people looking out for themselves more than anybody else.
Anything else to talk about before we bring on Moses?
I do want to bring up one thing in this because I think this is just skimming through it. He said, Cake again, in 27 days of investigation, I answered one written interview of less than a page. So how in depth did they really look into this from like the player side? And I don't know if this is the same across all the players on that organization, but even if it is, and they got one interview in 27 days and you're really getting to the bottom of it, are you really getting to the bottom of it? Like really?
Yeah.
I listen, Riot has a lot going on right now, and this has to be the least of their
small
worries.
indie organization.
Get out of here. This has to be low on the priority list. Like you'd want to figure that someone can play your game and figure out the contracts because they've got, possibly big rumored news coming up.
I mean, I feel like you can't have it low on your list, though. If you're going to go with, like, this is a healthier players, you're, like, the guys that are, even if you're not technically employing them, which they are because they do pay salary towards teams, these guys are still the ones that are the face of your product. Like, you got to do something to at least help them out. And this, I feel like they kind of just got thrown to the wolves and basically told to, like, go back home if you're from, Montreal. I mean, again, maybe he just wanted to come back for poutine. I don't know, but the guy seemed like he had his head on his shoulders.
For sure,
he seemed like a smart guy, and like we said originally, I really, truly do wish him all the best. I'm not sure; it might be in his best interest at this point to sort of move on. I feel like I'm not sure how much more dropping twit longers is really going to advance this issue. I think he's got to get back to playing. He's been released from the database, which is the main thing because he also told us prior to this. Other teams were specifically told they cannot take him and other Tainted Minds players on because of the database issue. But he's gone from that. So I think it's time to move on.
Let's move on to CSGO.
I can't wait for this terrible pun. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I can say my dad intro on the air this time, so I'm going to have to do a boring intro.
It's always pretty lackluster.
It's not about lackluster this time. It's about it's about appropriateness for our audience.
Yes.
I'll tell you guys after the cast though. As
look out for that on his Twitter.
Yeah, seriously, they don't control my Twitter, guys. I can do anything I want. But as stated prior, we've got Jason O'Toole, aka Moses, on the show right now. What's up?
How's it going, guys? Hey. What is all these dad puns I'm hearing about? Someone's a pun guy.
Hello. Hold on. Before, do you enjoy puns? And if you do, are you going to encourage this behavior? Because we've been actively trying to stamp it out.
I mean, it depends on the quality of the pun. I work with Thorin, so I generally hear both ends of the spectrum, the really good ones and the really shit ones. So. You've got something to live up to, I guess.
I really enjoyed the trash talk that you and Anders were throwing back and forth. Some limp dick conversations on public Twitter.
Some what?
Oh, yeah. What did you just say? Oh yeah, I'm hard on the creep.
We get a little bit weird sometimes. Always fun though. Yeah, Anders and I love to get at.
I think it's actually one of the high points of CS:GO casters in general compared to a lot of other esports is they do kind of get out there. I don't feel like they have as many people to answer to. I mean, you can obviously speak on that, Moses, but I don't know. The casters just look like they're enjoying it. They're more part of it. They're not in suits, or they are in suits, but they're not suits talking about a game. They don't have a corporate thing to push forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the easy one to compare it to is someone like Riot, right? Which is like heavily controls what kind of comes out about their product. We have a lot more freedom than that one, obviously, and everything I hear about Blizzard as well, we have a lot more freedom than Blizzard games and Blizzard commentators do. But yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of Valve having that handoff approach, right? Like we always focus on the negatives. This is one of the positives of that kind of a thing. And yeah, I mean, we're just a group of friends that essentially just have a really good time together. But it's that fine line, right? Like the banter and the jokes and the going at each other. never know. Someone might be tired or jet lagged from travel, and something just kind of hits them the wrong way. So we do a good job of keeping everyone in line as well.
And I would say that this isn't just like a top-down thing. This is not, Riot, Valve, setting the tone. I think it has very much to do with the people who are involved. And I mean, we've talked before about the differences between Dota versus League players versus CSGO and Smash guys. And I know that we were hyped about the Beyond the Summit CSGO stuff. And I think that it's just the mentality of all the players and just the culture to be more like jovial. It's more like a traditional sports type locker room chit chat, man. Like I really like the heat that's tossed back and forth between CS:GO guys.
Yeah, I mean it always depends on events as well. Like if you watch like the broadcasts that we do for EPL, they're a little bit, for the online regular season, they're always a little bit more laid back, a little bit more silly, I guess you would put it, just because the online games, we need something's got to be exciting, and we do so many events that the online games don't really do it. But like then if you see us at an event, we can get a little bit more serious, but we still have the jokes. And then like once you get to a major, it's kind of like we reel it in a little bit, still with jokes, but at the same time, like a major we always feel is something where that's the showcase of the game. That's the biggest showcase Counter-Strike has. So the attention should all be on the games, all be on the players that are competing. So usually it's something where like the group stage will be a little bit loose, and then once we get into the playoffs, it's like reel it back in a little bit.
You see, this is the type of guy that you want to do your best man speech.
We could see the moment in Ryan's eyes when the little hearts came in. He's like, "Fuck, I love this guy." Like I saw it happen.
Listen, like right off the bat, he goes ahead and says, "This is the top tier tournament, and you've got to pay respects to absolutely the professionalism." And look, what a gentleman, class act right out the get go, right out the gate. Gonna say I like him.
Let's get Ryan some like eSports guest Tinder or something, so we can just swipe right on this shit instead of.
I mean, yeah, that's all exciting, but I will tell you, we've had plenty of conversations here in Germany for EPL over a couple beers about finding a way to get like a chicken costume involved in the broadcast.
Yes, the chicken.
So I won't mention how exactly we're thinking of doing it, but it is currently an idea that is being thrown around. We had like the all denim day last week, so I mean we like, I mean they're all like, the denim is like an inside joke on Henry, right? So like it's kind of funny because we all have these inside jokes, and you can't really bring those out on broadcasts a whole lot, but like we try and find ways to make it so like the public can have fun with our inside jokes, because it is just kind of a good time, and it is just kind of silly seeing a bunch of guys just up there doing stupid shit.
Now, Moses, you're in Cologne right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I am in Cologne. Been here actually I came here straight from Katowice to do the Pro League season here, and then I'll be here right up until I think I have like a week home before the Pro League finals begin. So like end of May, I'll be home. I think May 19th is my actual flight.
Oh, very cool. And let's talk about ESL One Cologne for a minute. Let's talk about Astralis choosing not to participate. What's up with that?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this is it makes sense, and this is kind of like tooting my own horn. I didn't like put this publicly or anything, but just in like internal discussions with all the casters, it was just kind of like I kind of expected Astralis to pull out of Cologne. They're one of the teams right now that seem to be the most professional in how they are as an organization, as a team, how they prepare for events. They're very on point with that side of things compared to their counterparts. And I think they've even been public about the fact that, you know, with everything they do and all the events they go to, they want to limit themselves to like one event per month, you know, give them family time, give them time at home. So this decision made complete sense. It's obviously a product of scheduling. I don't think there's any team that wants, and I think if you ask the Astralis guys, they don't want to miss Cologne, but the fact that the major is there, you know, defending their title, going for a second, trying to establish a legacy, it makes complete sense, to be quite frank.
Okay, fair enough. Now, if it makes sense for Astralis, why do we not see more teams doing this? Is it just because they are, like you said, defending their title at Krakow?
I think the reason why we see more teams still going, and Astralis being the only one that's pulled out, is, I mean, one, obviously the prize pool is super nice. I think it's still $250,000, or no, it could be more even. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore what the prize pools are. It could be, yeah. I mean, part of it's probably the money, part of it's the prestige. I mean, even ESL Cologne, ESL's done such a great job of building this tournament in the Lanxess Arena over the past 2 years into essentially being the marquee Counter-Strike event of the year, even if it's not a major. And I think a lot of teams look at that and they remember playing on that stage in front of the biggest crowd that Counter-Strike has all year round. It fills up 15,000 people. Crowd there is incredible. The experience is incredible, and I don't think anyone wants to miss out on that. And I think Astralis is very much in that same boat, but they just have their eye on a different goal. And then, teams, I think teams and players just kind of look at a different philosophy in how a competition. There's always the team that says, we want the time off before that big event to prepare, to rest up, to not be overplayed, to not be tired from traveling. And there's the teams who say, if we miss this kind of a big event, like, this big of an event, will let us test some things on the stage at a tournament against the best teams in the world that we might want to use in the major. And, maybe playing in this tournament helps us kind of get the feel of where we're at. So, I mean, there's that whole philosophy. There's that whole angle as well.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So it seems like you do think it's somewhat of an advantage that they're kind of able to pick and choose what they're competing in. Do you think more teams are going to swap to that going forward, or is it a sense where Astralis just has enough money coming in that they're able to kind of forego the exposure and the prize pool money that they're getting from this?
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, with the reports that we've seen of how much certain teams and players are making in terms of their salary, most teams probably make enough money to be able to skip this event and not feel any financial hurt whatsoever. I think it's just more so, the teams have to decide how they want to prepare for things. And especially, it all depends. I mean, you think about it also, the teams that have to re-qualify for the major, are they even going to be at this event? Because the major qualifier is the week before Cologne. Cologne starts 2 days after the major qualifier ends, which is fucking insanity. So, I mean, do those teams go? I don't know. I don't have the answer because, straight from, I think the qualifier is going to be not in Cologne, so it'd be traveling to Cologne, or traveling somewhere for the qualifier, traveling to Cologne, and then probably going straight to Krakow with no time off in between. So, I mean, it's all going to be down to player and team preference, and that's something that they're all going to have to learn, and that they've probably been learning over the course of the past couple year or 2 years with all the events that we have going on. Is that it sucks to skip an event, it sucks to have to make that decision, but it might be necessary if you want to put your best product on the table, if you want to put your best performance out on the stage in Krakow.
Now, I guess the subtext to this discussion is oversaturation of CSGO events. There's just so much, and it just keeps getting added to. We've talked a lot about this podcast about that from the perspective of players. But what about you as a caster? I mean, are you just sort of exhausted going from place to place to place at this point?
Yeah, it comes and goes in waves. Okay. I mean, I certainly have my months where I'm just dead and just sick of travel. This has been things like this, where I am right now, because I've been stationed in Cologne for 2 to 3 months for the online league. This is where it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's super nice since I'm in one place. It's not like that exhausting travel schedule every single weekend, but at the same time, it's kind of, I'm away from home, I'm away from friends and family, so there's also that kind of pain to it. The oversaturation, I don't think is, I think the issue gets kind of convoluted, because when we talk about oversaturation, you always look at the number of events that we have going on, and I'm not even sure the events are really that much of a problem. Especially because the first half of the season, the schedule just felt lighter. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm used to it or just because if it actually was lighter than last year. But I mean, the real pain for casters or commentators at the very least is that every single league has transitioned into studio broadcasts. So we used to be able to, go to an event and then you'd come home and you'd be home for a week, for 2 weeks before traveling again, and you'd be casting games from, the bedroom or your office or wherever it might have been, and that's all super. You could be in your pajamas. Now, we're all, if you want to do ESL online, you have to either be in Burbank or you have to be in Cologne. Now, you either live there if you're a full-time employee, or you have to travel there and stay in a hotel. This time we got Airbnbs. So I mean, there's all that. If you want to do ECS now, I know Yanko had to fly over to LA, so he's going to be in. I think it's in Santa Ana for the next month or two. So the tough part for us is all these online, and I think the players experience that same thing as well. I think if there were no online leagues, not to say that that's the proper solution, then this oversaturation wouldn't necessarily be a problem. But you can see it in the broadcasts, you can see it in the way the teams play these online games. It holds the least interest and value for them. Yeah. Teams don't really put a good game out there. There's more ridiculous things going on because they're exhausted from traveling. They're don't have time to practice necessarily. The casters, our broadcasts, are a little bit more silly. The tournament organizers don't have time to put any content together, so all the broadcasts and all the production is super basic. And it's all because there's this big I guess the best way to put it is like, who's got the biggest dick? Everyone's whipping it out and putting it on the table, and no one's actually doing anything to improve the product. It's just like, how much content can we put out there? How many eyeballs can we get on the same exact content that the other company is doing? But there's no improvement of the actual product itself. And I think that's where this oversaturation really becomes an issue. I can't tell you how many times we as commentators and analysts have gone to an organizer. It doesn't matter which one it is. There's pretty much all of them have done this, and we've said, we have this really cool idea. We want to try this. We want to build this kind of content. We want to kind of do something like this for the show, make the show better. And the response is like 90% of the time, it's we don't have time to put that together. We don't know how we're going to put that together. The other 10% is we don't have the money to do it, which is fair play. What can you do about that one?
Wow, that's like some Game of Thrones shit right there. Just everybody's trying to rule the CS:GO landscape.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll tell you the story, because I don't even think I've told this story in public. It's not like a bad or an incriminating story in any way, but part of the oversaturation thing, or just even the scheduling problems that we have going on, is when I was talking with ESL about doing Pro League. I'm known as like the North American guy, the guy who comes from this, like the broadcaster from that region, and I've done the North American Pro League, the previous, I think, probably 4 or 5 seasons, outside of maybe a week or two here or there, and this year I'm in Europe. And I've had some people ask me why I decided to do that. And when I'm negotiating with ESL back in December about doing Pro League, this is when all of the PEA, if you remember, was going down, where the PEA wanted to have their own league, and they got to all the North American teams and organizations, and they said, we want to run this league, and we want you guys all to be part of it, and you guys will have X, Y, and Z. This is all good shit. This is all cool, blah, blah, blah. But you have to leave ESL. So when I'm negotiating, I don't even know if there's going to be an ESL Pro League. I don't even know if there's going to be a Pro League in North America. So it's like, the fact that takes so long, at a certain point, they're starting to fill up slots in the broadcast for the entire season. So I just have to sign on to Europe just so I have the work. And that's the other sense of oversaturation, is where we have all these events, right? But we only know our future up to like, usually it's just like 2 to 3 months, maybe, if we're lucky. We know what's coming. So everything is constantly changing in Counter-Strike right now. There's always scheduling conflicts. There's always something. And that's kind of the sense that makes everything very difficult, is because when we look at our schedules, we only get to look 2 to 3 months ahead. I don't really know when I can plan a vacation. I don't really know when I can plan on being home. Dentist appointments, those are usually pretty easy to schedule. I don't know when I can have my next dental appointment. I'm like 5 months late. So what are you going to do?
That's okay. You're not smiling on camera, so you don't really need
to.
Right?
Listen, I keep my mouth closed from now on.
That's all good. I want to touch on a little bit of the production companies that have been in CSGO. So we used to see majors being kind of spread around, right? Or at least major events. So you get like ESL hosting one, DreamHack hosting one, that kind of deal. Valve has seemingly kind of been favoring PGL across Dota and now CSGO for a little bit. Do you see that kind of continuing? What are your thoughts on why PGL seems to be getting it? Is it strictly they're able to do it cheaper, or able to do it better? Like, what are your thoughts, I guess?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I've never worked for PGL, so I don't know all the ins. I know the guys over there. I know Matt and Henry have worked for them a lot, and they always have good things to say. I know it seems like, especially, they have all these posts on Reddit about, that adaptive or UI that they're going to have for the stream for the major. It seems like they're more willing than others to kind of push the envelope in certain ways. The production at Cologne had all their fancy graphics. Some worked, some didn't. They had the virtual reality, or not, augmented reality set up as well for the arena, which was really cool. So it just seems like, they have a great relationship with Valve, which certainly helps. I don't think it's going to get to a point where it's like PGL is going to have every Counter-Strike major. I think they have all the majors in Dota, though. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think for the ones that have been announced, they only really
or ESL has one as well.
Well, they did, but PGL did the last one, and then it was Perfect World in China, and then they're doing the one in Kiev next week, I think, as well, right? And then after that, I think the next one is actually TI, which Valve does.
Which Valve does. I honestly wish I had a good answer for that. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's just because they have a good relationship with them. And then if you look at PGL and Counter-Strike as well, they did DreamHack Cluj. That was a major. They did ESL One Cologne last year. That was a major. So they have all this experience being part of the production of majors, and they haven't actually ran one yet. So maybe Valve sees something in that and is like, now that this company has this experience, let's see what they can put on if they're in charge of everything. You know, if they have all the control of this event, how cool can it be?
Right. Wow. Okay. So this whole thing, like, as you say, who's got the biggest dick competition, how is this actually going to suss out? How is it going to shake down and get to a point where you can book that dentist appointment?
I have no idea. I don't. That's another one I just don't have a good answer for. And there's plenty of theory, and I mean, the tough part is it's just so hard to put that to the test in a marketplace where you don't really want to lose ground. Yeah. I'm of the opinion right now where I think one of the best things that organizers can do is I think you have to improve the broadcasts. Because that's like the intermediary between the fans and the game itself. That's how you draw new people in is with the entertaining and the educational broadcasts, different kinds of content. And to be fair, to be honest with you, this is obviously a very biased view because I work in production, I work in the broadcasts. But this is where I always notice the biggest change that we can make is simple things that can help have a better show, even if it's just like a 2-hour show. I think that's where they can really set apart, because if you watch a stream, there's no real difference between the broadcast that these different organizers are putting on, and especially with the online games, it's the only thing that's really different is the analysts and the hosts, the casters maybe, and then the graphics that are used and the overlays, and that's about it. There's no other difference. It's gameplay, cast, throw back to the desk, chat about the game, analyze the game, throw to a break, come back, and it's just very, very repetitive. There's not really any unique. There's nothing. We need to make fans love not only the game but the players, the teams. You need people to become fans of like a compelling figure, a compelling player, and we have plenty of those in Counter-Strike, but there's no content being put out. I know teams themselves are starting to put some of that content out, but it's not getting onto these official broadcasts, which have the majority of the viewers of the game. So those are ways that we can improve. Those are the ways that Counter-Strike is one of the few games in esports that has a history to it, and we do nothing to dive into that history. We do nothing to kind of explore that on these broadcasts because there's just no time. 5-hour broadcast, and we have 4 best of ones to play. And so I mean, there's all that, and there's no supplemental content to it whatsoever.
That's a really good point. I like the idea of branding each one different, and like maybe the end game would be to create some loyalty. In sports we've always got guys. I'm sorry, Ryan, I'm cutting you off here, but cool. Like in sports we've always got guys who are like, man, I don't want to watch the Sportsnet broadcast. Like I don't want to. I want to watch the ESPN broadcast because I like them, and there isn't. We haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, and I think. Go ahead, Moses.
I don't know if we ever. I mean, we probably. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. Just because. I mean, it's tough. It's just a weird situation where it would be interesting to see who got the most viewership. If it mattered, if Faceit had a broadcast and ESL had a broadcast for the same game or the same tournament, like who would be getting the viewers? Who would put out the better product then? But the way we have it now is, ESL controls their own product and Faceit can't touch it, and it's the same vice versa. So it would be interesting if there was some way that they were in like direct competition for the same tournament. Who would have the most innovative ideas? Who would be willing to push the envelope in order to attract those viewers?
And I think that Moses raised like some really good points, and it doesn't matter what esport we're looking at, the history or how long it's been around. The fact is that most people are saying that there's too much quantity, not enough quality, right? And with everybody trying to dive in and make their mark and get ahead with this whole esports thing, it leaves like the entire landscape in like disrepair. It's confusing. We don't know what to pay attention to. Certain players are dropping out of whatever, burnout, all this talk. And I think that what's consistent amongst this new era of internet and online games and now esports is that we want consistency, we want engaged audiences, we want some sort of continuity, that we know who to go to. So if I'm from a certain team, I could bring my video to the broadcaster. Also, even things like tier 1 leagues and the divisions underneath that. I think that this is an ongoing problem with all esports, and I don't think anyone's really got it it figured out yet, but it's on the tip of everybody's tongue. Everybody's almost there.
Oh, I didn't see you bring your soapbox in the studio.
I gotta say though, I do think that CS:GO has the advantage in that because I agree with what Ryan's saying in that a lot of esports are very challenging to get into. When you want to start following something, it's kind of like, holy shit, where do I start?
Where do you begin?
Yeah, and CS:GO has a very crowded space to do that, but at least the game is understandable. Like, don't get me wrong, CS:GO has a ton of depth, but at least you know what's going on the screen when you get into it.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. I mean, even that's just as a fan. Imagine if you're like a sponsor trying to come into it and you're not going to know where to go, and I think that's a big problem. I mean, we have all these cool events, and we like to think that Counter-Strike is thriving as this esport, but events still struggle to sell out sponsorships. So I mean, no one really notices that. Obviously, the fans can't really notice that because they're not privy to all that kind of information. But there are still those issues, and if I'm honest, I mean, if you look at some of the events that are run, it feels like at some point there could just be a bubble. Not in esports as a whole, but like in Counter-Strike, because I mean, look at an event like Epicenter that came in and everything they did to run that event and how expensive that stage must have been and renting out that arena and putting the players up in these 5-star hotels. The only way to get into this space and have like an event of that publicity is to spend more than is humanly possible to make back on running that event. So if that's your only event of the year, you have just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on that event. And there's enough investment money and people interested in esports to make that investment short term, but if they're not going to see a return on that, then all of a sudden all that money just disappears. We saw a little bit of that with the G2 owner Ocelot spoke about that with player salaries when the gambling websites were up and running still. The amount of money that the gambling and skin websites were giving to teams, giving to players was unreal because they were just making so much. And then when Valve kind of cracked down on that and shut them down, that was something that was very real. All of a sudden that vacuum of money was like all these players are still asking for the money that the skin websites were giving them, but the orgs don't have that much money anymore because they're not getting it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a very small bubble, but it's very possible that in the future there's a massive bubble growing, and that's a little bit frightening. It's going to be a very interesting few years to see how all that works itself out. But I mean, there is still very much a big battle for this Counter-Strike space going on.
And Moses, you've mentioned about investors, sometimes a little apprehensive about getting involved and sponsoring events. As a fan of CS:GO right now, is it a good time to be a fan, or is it overwhelming?
I mean, obviously, it's going to take some. I think it's a good time overall. Just because the level of competition we have is so good. I mean, look at all the good games that we've had just this year. I mean, the bar has been raised among every single team. There's now 6 teams that have the ability to win any event at any one point. There's not that one dominating favorite the way there was like SK last year, Fnatic the year before that, NIP the years before that, with a couple other ones obviously mixed in. But if you come in, obviously it's going to be a little bit confusing working out the schedule with all the events going on. It's just like, which one do I watch? When do I watch? Who am I watching? But if you stick with it, if you become like even just a mediocre, even just a surface level fan, I think it's the best time to do that, just because we have the most compelling, interesting characters in all of esports. We've got guys like Taz and Pasha are entertaining as hell. We've got guys like Device. We've got guys like Kerrigan. Dupree is a very good personality in our scene. So we have all these very, very cool players, and that's the thing. The content that we make needs to be focused on those guys. Those are the fun people that we need to see videos of. Those are the people that are easy for people to become fans of. And you get them fans of one team, and then they start learning about their opponents. They start learning about the different events this team is going to go to, and then it just becomes very easy. If you get them interested in one person, that's going to blossom because this game is just so good that's just how it happens.
Could not
absolutely
agree more with both those points. I'm fairly new to theScore eSports, and when I started here, obviously I had played CS:GO. I was sort of like aware of the competitive scene, but when I started getting really into it, digging into it, watching hours and hours and hours and researching and reading and all that stuff, it is an amazing time to be a fan. Like you said, there's no guaranteed winner in any given competition, and the games are really exciting, and there's always a lot to watch. Now, speaking of exciting games and upcoming events, this upcoming weekend we've got CS Summit. They're just shaking their heads. That's not a pun. That's just a transition.
Where's your energy today? But go ahead.
You plebs. I'm I'm trying to broadcast here. Speaking of which,
he is trying.
I quit.
Not succeeding, but he's
we've got CS Summit coming up on the weekend.
Oh,
and look,
yeah.
I'm no Jason O'Toole, okay, but I'm trying. I am trying. Yes. And a player by the name of Swag is competing in this tournament, in this competition, this friendly competition. How? What? It's the Beyond the Summit stuff. It's like a party,
Get
right?
to the point. Just get to the point.
Maybe if I wouldn't be constantly interrupted by the
I think it's that terrible
gallery.
jersey, Toronto Maple Leafs, get in your head.
How do you feel about a player who's been VAC banned by Valve competing?
I don't mind it.
Okay.
I think it's fun. Yeah, I mean, there was all speculation over whether these guys would even compete in something like, you know, Pro League or ESL when they eventually got unbanned, because those weren't lifetime bans. Would they just make a team and just say we want to compete? We just like competing, and would they do it? We haven't actually seen that happen. Obviously, they're all pretty successful streamers, but yeah, I'm fine with Swag. I don't mind them playing. I didn't mind Emilio. I think played at Copenhagen Games this past weekend. He's got a VAC ban. Yeah. Play away, play to your heart's content. I mean, here's the thing: look at what's been taken away from them. Like, it's the no pro career is even possible. No involvement in Counter-Strike on anything that involves Valve. They've had enough taken from them. I don't mind seeing them play. And in reality, since they can't play in majors, no team is ever going to pick them up permanently. So I mean, if a team's going to be bringing them to a CS Summit for one weekend for a Copenhagen Games to play in a pug, there's no harm done to anybody in that situation.
No harm done in this situation, but would you? It sounds like you want these guys to come back to be unbanned. I'm getting the Reinhardt hammer from Ryan, but it sounds like you are sort of unhappy with the fact that they functionally don't have careers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that part is very unfair, and I know that's kind of like a pussy way to say it. Here's the thing: cheaters. If you get VAC banned for cheating, you should never be allowed to be in a pro team, a pro career, pro leagues, anything ever again. The match fixing is a little bit of a different story, and even so, I don't subscribe to the normal arguments that, like, in this. I guess it could be a weak argument, anyways. But I mean, coming from where I came from, it makes sense from my view where. These are guys who played the game of Counter-Strike and competed at a professional level when, you know, being a professional meant almost nothing, where there weren't salaries in it. And, you know, even at the time, not getting salaried and just playing mostly for pride. And even that's not a great excuse. But the fact that they put so much time in, I think it's almost crazy that, you know, their careers were just taken away from them, especially considering, yes, match fixing is a terrible thing to do. But the severity at the time of how much they made off the match fixing, I think that should have given them leniency. You always, in every kind of situation, in every legal battle, there's always the severity of the crime that was committed. Obviously, if you do something, I mean, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Actually, I'm just going to avoid that altogether. But,
too late.
Yeah. No, but I mean, they only, you know, it'd be one thing if they were pros right now and they fixed a match and made $200,000 off of it. Then it's like, get the fuck out, like, you're done. But like the fact that they played an online match that was, by the way, meaningless in terms of the standings of the league they were competing in, and made, like, I think $3,000 or something total that was split between all of them. Yeah. By the way, there were people involved in this match fixing program, or not program, or this ring, or even knew that it was happening and bet on it, that are not currently banned. There are people who were part of this ring who are currently banned from all Valve events, but still have careers outside of playing the game, outside of competition, in terms of, you know, other roles behind the scenes, and they have careers that are not only doing well but thriving. So I mean, I just think it's all just a little bit of a silly clusterfuck that's taken so much away from the scene.
Listen, I understand about the match fixing. That's totally gangster. But why the fuck are people getting... Hold on. Why are people getting banned from playing? Banned. People in traditional sports, they cheat. They cheat like crazy. Steroids and taking game plans and stuff like that. Whoa. They get like a couple games. A few games. Okay. Why are we so hard on these esports guys who are not making the $10 million a year? They're cheating. They're cheating.
They're cheating because it's a program that anybody... Like, you could say steroid testing, whatever like that. That's one thing. Cheating is something that, like, like in video games, first of all, it's really easy to prove.
Yeah.
And second of all, it's just really stark. It's a black or white line. Are you running a script? Are you running?
Are you doing steroids?
you
Yes
have
or no?
an
It's
aimbot?
It's cheating. You don't ban him for life. Also, there's things like, okay, like he didn't do any harm. He didn't do any harm. There are real athletes that do a lot of fucking harm.
Okay.
Child abuse.
So what
wife
is
abuse.
what are you actually saying though? Like what is your point?
What I'm saying is, why are we holding these esports guys up to such a high standard of policing? Why are these guys getting banned for life when they make a mistake, especially when they're young, whatever?
If we're, I mean, I think the answer to that is that, you know, regardless of your stance on it, that was something that when it happened, Valve just looked at it and said, we're going to make examples of them. We're gonna put these players' heads on a spike, metaphorically, obviously, and we're just gonna send a message from here on out that, you know, if you do this, you will risk the chance of having zero chance of a professional career if you're caught. So I mean that was the unfortunate thing. They were the first ones to be actually caught by Valve. And I mean, the fucked up thing about it is they weren't actually even caught by Valve. They were caught by Richard Lewis, who passed all the information on to Valve. So, what can you say about that one?
I mean, it's funny too. I guess maybe not funny, but Riot did this similar thing with a few players back in the day around like racism and toxicity, saying they were banned for life, and then they have rescinded a few of those bans in the past.
Let's just send it back to allow banned for life.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. So I mean, do we get to a point where Valve feels comfortable doing that, or are they maybe just never going to address it again? Like, no, fuck it, wash our hands of it, we're done. Like, they're banned for life, we don't give a shit.
As far as I know from having talked to devs at a couple of the majors here and there, they don't give it a thought, to be honest with you.
That's what I expected.
They probably haven't thought about the situation since.
Yep.
Don't lose any sleep at all.
That does sound like Valve.
And you know what? And Ryan, just to assuage your fears here, okay? You know,
Google assuage. Hold on.
Okay, Swag is a very successful streamer, and I'm sure he makes a good buck off of that living, even though he can't.
I'm just saying, Valve, come on, man, give him a second chance. Don't be so hard on him.
Okay, so second chances. Let's talk about first chances now, because this is a really weird thing to say out loud, but CS:GO is about to be officially released for the first time in China, which is bizarre. But it's happening. Is this, I mean, China's, 1.8 billion people
1.4, I think.
1.4. Is this going to open up just a massive wave of new talent?
Not initially. Maybe in the future. And I don't know. This whole situation is very weird to me, because when I speak to people from the region about this, they're a lot less excited than us Westerners are, because I don't know the exact like route that it takes, but apparently Counter-Strike you've been able to access it. And there have been people playing in places like China and Korea for some time. I'm not entirely sure on the situation to even speak to why there's so much excitement about this, if it's already out over there. So I don't know how that goes. But I think the big thing is obviously the eyeballs. You know, the eyeballs that they're going to be able to have are huge. You know, for sponsorships, for viewership, for everything that you could want in that sense. And then obviously the inclusion of some of these Asian organizations that have been so successful in other sports, and the infrastructure that they can provide to teams who want to learn. I know from speaking to guys like Thorin and someone like Monte Cristo about, you know, some of the regimens that teams go through for League of Legends and Dota over in Asia is just like as soon as the region gets like clicked in, we are going to see top teams come out of China, come out of Korea, teams that just know how to improve at video games, that know how to cultivate talent in ways that Western teams don't, and Western organizations don't. So I think that's kind of the big excitement for me about that. And that's not going to be a quick thing. No matter how good they are at it, I don't think it's going to be fast. I could be proven wrong on that, obviously. Yeah. But you know, I think it'll be 6 months to a year. I mean, even if you look at StarLadder, where we just were 2 weeks ago. That MVP project team, they looked great for the amount of experience that they've had. I mean, they weren't blowing anyone away, but you could see like the tactical ideas that they had, and it was very impressive with even just the players who probably aren't even the most skilled players from the region. So there's going to be a lot of skill. There's going to be a good amount of teams that from the regions that in 6 to 12 months, like I said, are going to be competing, are going to be competitive.
Okay, so before we let you go, speaking of blowing people away, I do want to jam in a question about the Negev, okay?
Alrighty. Machine
gun, buffed, 50%, I believe, price reduction. What is Valve doing? What is this?
You know, this I don't really mind this so much, just because Yeah, for me, it seems like they came out and just said this is going to be a temporary change because they made a change to the weapon, right?
Yep.
The gun was still massively expensive, so no one's using it. So obviously it's annoying in the short term to have to play matchmaking pugs with the Negev possible with how it is. But they need to see how people are going to use it, and they need to see how effective it's going to be in order to put the appropriate price tag on it, in order to see, are the changes they made too powerful? Are the changes they made too weak? Do they need to change something different? Is like, because if you think about it, the fact that it has like 15 bullets that are wildly inaccurate and then it's a laser beam, there's no gun like that in the game. So there's no way to know how it's going to be used, how effective it's going to be in that role, if that role is even something that needs to be filled. So really they need more information on it. So I'm fine with the price reduction at the moment. It's going to be short term. It's annoying, obviously, but it'll be changed. The tough question is always professional level of competition, because we've seen Valve make changes that they have no idea how the pro community is going to be able to incorporate them. We see it even still with the changes, because we know Valve makes changes and tweaks the game based mostly off matchmaking data, mostly on the casual community, not the professional one. So we have guns like the Tech 9, like the P250s. We have guns like the UMP that if you put them in the hand of someone who's a casual player, no one gives a shit. It's not overpowered. But if you put it in the hands of a professional player, the guys who play this game 60 hours a week within a competitive team for millions of dollars, then it's going to become overpowered. And I think that's the situation we'll find ourselves in with the Negev. Is if Valve make it something permanent, I think the pro players are just going to find many ways to abuse it.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, Moses, before we do let you go, is there anything else that you want to say to us? Any shout-outs you want to give? Final thoughts?
Are you guys sponsoring ESL Pro League in Dallas? Because I'm hosting that, and I really don't need the memes that come from having.
Are you sure, Kyle? I feel like Machine pretty much loves that.
He set the bar so high.
He pretty much loves it.
Yeah, I don't think I can ever come close to his. You know what? I actually heard he had the very best plug for you guys at one event.
Woo!
And I heard that he was reprimanded for it.
What? They didn't pay enough for that.
No, I think he's saying from. I need to know which one it was. I want to know exactly which one this was.
It was taking place in Austin. I was at the end of a very long day. Probably think it was like a 14 to 15 hour day.
I was in
on
Austin.
The desk. Yep, and he was hosting, and he says something like, it was probably his 20th theScore eSports app shout out of that event, and he had nothing. He had no idea where he was going to go with it, so he just looks up at the camera and he goes, "Listen, everybody poops. So next time, while you're taking a dump, instead of reading a book, use the theScore eSports application to get all caught up to date on Counter-Strike."
Hey, you know what? I do remember that. I remember that plug, and I actually loved it. Like when we got that, we talked about that one back in the office.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Absolutely.
Like, for me, no joke. I legitimately who doesn't poop with their phone? Let's be honest here. So I love that one. So that I can say with certainty was not coming from us, because I thought that was perfect.
I thought you wrote it for him.
Yeah, right.
It might have been DreamHack who was like, "Please do not associate our lead sponsor's product with poop."
Yeah,
it's quality time.
That I thought it was funny. Hey man, everybody's got a little bit of time to read.
I love that. God bless Machine.
Yeah, that was good for Machine.
Well, I guess on that note, everybody poops,
On the poop note, yeah.
and everybody's podcast has to end at some point. So, Moses, once again, Jason O'Toole, thank you so much for making time for us. It was a real pleasure. I'm actually sorry we have to cut it off.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, that was a sick conversation.
Yeah, Jason's a good guy.
I really enjoyed that talk.
Ryan, how many hearts do you give it?
The Care Bear stare, everybody. Oh man, Colin, you're gonna wrap it up by saying
it's a good thing he wasn't with a certain organization whose name I could forget.
Yeah,
had the opportunity.
True.
Yeah.
I'm. Can you do us? Can you say us?
Okay. Kyle Chatterson from the Poor.
Yeah, that's good.
Skincare.
Yeah.
You got the last name correct, which is really all I can hope for.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, with that, we are out of time. This has been the theScore Esports podcast. Remember,
and still will be
next Monday. Every single Monday, 1 p.m. We go down. Don't forget on Tuesdays, the League of Legends specific podcast, The Nexus, also on this very same channel, goes down as well. If you missed any of Moses's crazy kooky comments, check out the VOD. It's going to be up on our YouTube channel in mere minutes. For Kyle Chatterson and not Ryan Stratton, I am Colin McNeil saying until next time,
bye-bye.
GG.
Later.
Bring 'em down, rock.